let's talk about some Ted Baker perfumes. So then, I have a couple of Ted Bakers that I really like. I've also had a couple that I've decluttered. The one that actually no, there's two that I really, really like. One is called W. You can still get that. That just smells like a lovely, very gentle sheer spring floral, which makes me happy. There's a kind of like spring blossom petally smell about that one that I really enjoy, but it's also a bit fruity. And I also love their XO Extraordinary Woman, which is a beautiful, again, very sheer but slightly sweet tuberose perfume, like a bubblegummy tuberose. And sadly, that one you can't get anymore. But I got rid of most of the other Ted Bakers I had because they just weren't really things that I would reach for. However, there were a couple I really wanted to try, and there was this little set. I've got this, which is called Amelia, and this is the old version of this perfume. You can get this still, but it's in a different bottle, and I'll be able to show you the kind of style because the other two that I have, they're actually in these special gift set, but these are the new bottles. But let's start with this that's in the old bottle. As far as I can tell, they're exactly the same scents. So Amelia is a perfume that I wanted to try because it has a licorice note in it. So let's take this little guy out. I'm going to need to spray this as well, aren't I? Let's give it a little squirt here. So this one has really interesting notes, and so I was quite looking forward to smelling it, and it also has some quite good reviews. So these are the charming old bottles. As you can see, they've got like a little gemstone in the top. This has a very deep coloured liquid. So Amelia from Ted Baker. This is very, very, very sweet. But it's also quite floral. There's a lot going on here. So you've got top notes of magnolia, rhubarb and almond. Mid notes of heliotrope, licorice and jasmine. Base notes of maple, tonka bean and patchouli. So let's just look at this realistically. There are quite a few things that could have gone wrong for me here, in that magnolia and jasmine often can go wrong, patchouli can go wrong. But I was interested in the licorice, the maple and the almond, really. This is interesting though, because this has the kind of licorice that really does remind me of a Lolita Lempicka, but the old pre-reformulation, pre-vegan versions of Lolita Lempicka. Those have the kind of licorice in that smells a little bit like cigarettes to me, a little bit like cigarette ash. Now, it depends what the perfume is as to whether I can deal with that smell. And in this one, because you've got this very intensely sweet maple. Now it shows as a maple leaf, but this smells like maple syrup to me, and maple syrup is slightly smoky, and then you've got the licorice, and then you've got quite a decent patchouli in here in terms of like, I can smell there's patchouli. And this just isn't my kind of perfume. But it's interesting because if I look at what it's compared to, it is compared to Lolita Lempicka. Now, I love Lolita Lempicka. Le Parfum, I love the EDT version, the vintage one I have. I've got a few different vintage flankers. I love the profile of Lolita Lempicka. This does not smell like Lolita Lempicka. In my humble opinion, it doesn't smell at all like Lolita Lempicka outside of the fact that it has that licoricey feel. It's also compared to an Oriflame perfume that I have, and I've been meaning to declutter it for literally years, but it's kind of just been sitting in a box. It's one of their ambery perfumes, the one in the brown bottle, which is so cool, like Elixir Amber or something like that. And it is a little bit closer to that, but it's still not quite there. It's also compared to Hypnotic Poison, the EDP. Again, because that's a really strong licorice perfume, but I don't really think this smells like that. What this reminds me of quite a lot, and I'm the only person to say this, and it doesn't have ylang in it, so it's not exactly the same, but this gives me the feeling that I get from Floral Street Ylang or Ylang Espresso. That one smells like cigarette smokes to me. It's really kind of thick, it's sweet, it's heady, it's also I find it a bit sickly. It's quite smoky. It smells like literal cigarettes to me, that perfume. And this one really smells similar in my view. In fact, I kind of think that Amelia is nicer. I think Amelia is a nicer version of that kind of scent, but it smells sweet, it smells smoky, it smells grown up, but also a little bit, to me, a bit sickly. So I have to say, you can probably tell, I don't love Amelia. This is not one that I plan to keep in my collection, but it was really interesting to smell it. And, you know, sometimes I do get like a smoky feel from licorice, like an actual cigarette ash smell. I got the same thing in the Lonvin Me perfume, which is a lovely kind of blueberry jam smell perfume, but it has something in there, in that licorice, that is so like cigarette ash. And I get the same thing from this. So I can't cope with this one myself, but I think if you like perfumes like Ylang Ylang Espresso, you might really enjoy Amelia, and it's so much more affordable than Floral Street. So yeah, I like this one for other people. So so this is the gift set. I think this was something insane, like £12. I don't need like body lotions and stuff, but it was cheaper to get it like this than it was to just get the perfume on its own. So I ordered these, and let's talk about Elodie. Maybe a slightly classier bottle, even if the label is stuck on a bit wonky. But you know, these are very cheap perfumes. They're cheap and cheerful. They've got very cheap lids. I'm just going to spray this out. So here is Elodie. Cute little bottle. As I said, super affordable. Now then, the reason that I wanted to try this one is because this is a tea perfume. There's lots of things in this perfume that I thought I would like. Equally, there's some stuff that could be risky. So Elodie is top notes of bergamot tea and pink pepper, mid notes of fig, magnolia, rose and juniper, base notes cedarwood, amber, musk, sandalwood, moss and vetiver. Now, this is supposed to be for women. This entirely just smells like a masculine perfume to me. This smells like something that I would definitely see on a kind of a masculine man who isn't trying too hard, you know. It's definitely a freshie. You can sort of get a sense that it's tea. But I can smell the fig, and I can smell a ton of the juniper. I'm getting a decent amount of pink pepper. And then it's got that kind of vetiver, moss and wood dry down. And it's just... there's definitely a sweetness, but... and there's florals, there definitely is. But that juniper and those base notes are so pungent that this just on my skin and on card, it just entirely smells like a perfume that should be aimed at normally at masculine people. It doesn't at all smell like a perfume that's made for women. It doesn't even really smell unisex to me. That's what I'm trying to say. Like I am very traditional in terms of, I don't like wearing anything that I think leans masculine. Like if I think it smells masculine, it just doesn't feel like I'm wearing my own perfume. That's a personal taste. Loads of other people don't feel like that. But I feel like if something's marketed towards a woman, it's kind of weird when I smell it. And I think it just fully smells like a cologne, you know, like a men's cologne. And this one I think smells like a men's cologne. It's a little bit soapy. Yeah, it kind of smells foresty. It's just, I actually just don't like this one. And it's not like, and it's not one that I would hand over to my husband either. It's not one that I would, I mean, firstly, it's called Elodie, and it you know, it doesn't look like it was made for a dude. But, you know, I don't really think he'd care about that particularly, but I wouldn't particularly want him to smell like this. I don't love it. I think that it kind of smells like a too much juniper. There's too much juniper. There's too much of the moss, the vetiver, and the wood. I get a decent amount of fig, but I don't love it. So Elodie was a bit of a bust for me, and I thought this one might be a good one, but not for me. So the other one is Polly, and when I bought this, I ordered them online, then I went to collect them, and the lady said to me, "Oh, I love Polly." So this one I think is very popular, and I can totally understand why. Here's the very pretty bottle. Very pale pink. This is sweet. I can totally see why this is so popular. I bought this one entirely because there's a honeysuckle in it, and it's voted as having a strong honeysuckle note. So, Polly, top notes of red berries, peach, mandarin, orange. Middle notes of honeysuckle, peony and jasmine. Base notes vanilla, white musk and amber. This is sweet, 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 sweet for floral. It's like candy sweet floral. And it is very much the kind of perfumes that generally people really go for. Not entirely my style of perfume, to be honest. But I totally understand why other people would like this. And its top comparison on Fragrantica actually is Juicy Couture, the original. But I find that one much more floral. I find it more syrupy. This one's fresher. This to me smells like the Ariana Grande perfumes that are in the kind of little bottles with the puffs on the side. So I think there's one called Sweet Like Candy and there's one called Ari. And that's what this is smelling like to me. It's that kind of style for sure. And it's one of those things that I really like sniffing this. I think it's really cute. I think it's so feminine and girly. It's really sweet. It's really playful. It doesn't feel like me. So like when I tried to wear it, I was like, oh no, this isn't my jam. And it's just not my style of perfume. I felt the same about those Ariana Grandes. I just couldn't wear them. I found them a bit too sweet. But if you like those, this is an amazingly good value perfume because it's definitely in that same kind of realm. It's not too thick. It's not too cloying, but it is very sweet. It's got very, very sweet fruits. Almost candied, sugary, and there's honeysuckle, but I don't think this really smells like honeysuckle. I mean, because it is so, to me, drowned out by very sugary fruits. But there's no patchouli to make it, you know, too green or, you know, too strong. There's nothing like super woody coming through in the base. There's nothing too chemically going on here. It just smells like a super girly, youthful perfume. So this is, like, in a way, my favourite, like, from the batch. If I had to wear one... Well, actually, I don't know. Maybe if I had to wear one, I'd just have to get used to the patchouli and the cigarette smell that I get from the Amelie, or what was it called? I'm getting that wrong. Amelia. But generally speaking, I think this is I think Polly is the one to go for in terms of like a safe bet if you know you like Ariana Grande style perfumes. So yeah, I think this is probably the most crowd pleasing. If you're a dude, then I would go for Elodie. And if you're kind of a glamour puss, like maybe slightly older person, and you want to be like an absolute vixen, then Amelia is the one to go for. But yeah, generally speaking, I think Polly is probably, I can see why this is popular with people. So yeah, I'm going to end it here. That's the 3 little guys that I got from Ted Baker quite recently, and I think they're really cute. I think they're really cute perfumes. I quite like Ted Baker. It's fun to try them out, and they're so affordable that, you know, it's just fun to do it for my channel. Let me know if you have any of these. Please do subscribe to my channel if you're not already, and if you like my videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye guys.